Ah, that girl. She used to be the kind of person who could easily be swayed with some fried tofu. It's a relief to see how shrewd and resourceful she's now become. Still, I have to admit that I was a little upset to become the target of her scheming myself. I know it was for my own good, but I'm afraid she will mock me the next time we meet. Perhaps I should take the initiative and strike her first. She'll dodge it anyway.
Locking herself away in the plane of euthymia when she clearly wants to be out. It's just willful self-torture, really. On the other hand, it's also rather stubborn but cute, don't you think? You've met her, right? I'm not talking about the puppet. I mean her. You've met her, yes? Yes, the true Raiden Shogun, who meditates endlessly in the plane of euthymia to preserve her being. Her name is A.
Are you saying that the one we met at the ceremony was just a puppet? And the real Raiden Shogun is the one that the Traveler met later? And does that mean that when the battlefield changed, so did the opponent?
Because this is the Raiden Shogun's eternity. Before pursuing the eternity of her nation, she had to reach eternity for herself. Since the physical body will eventually turn to dust, she replaced hers with that of a puppet. And since the spirit is susceptible to erosion, she placed her consciousness inside her sword, where she remains in a meditative state, free from all disturbances.
So, that place that she carved open with her sword...
The plane of euthymia. Essentially, the world inside her mind. A place that typically only allows her existence. She shuts herself off in her inner world, leaving all the affairs of the outside world to be dealt with by a puppet, who has a singular focus on the pursuit of eternity. This is the approach A has come up with for realizing eternity. You mean Morax? It's been a while since I last saw him. A surprising decision by Liyue's Archon. What a fascinating god he is.
It seems like the Raiden Shogun's approach solves the problem Zhongli was facing, though.
Perhaps. Or you could take the view that she's acting like a little child, throwing a temper tantrum and locking herself in her room. Don't you think? The grand notion of eternity she once held has long since given way to the eternity of her own definition. And ultimately, her eternity is defined by fear. The fear of loss. The truth is, we are on the same side. You want to save the people of Inazuma from the Vision Hunt decree. So do I. The only difference is that I'd rather like to save this nation and save A while we're at it. The key is that the plane of euthymia represents A's inner world. Defeat her there, and you may well have the chance to shake the Raiden Shogun's will.
So this is your plan? To abolish the Vision Hunt decree? Not by talking her out of it, or through an armed resistance, but by, hopping inside the Raiden Shogun's inner world?
You're a fast learner. In short, this is the last chance to get Inazuma back on track. Otherwise, an eternity of darkness awaits. Don't you realize how special you are? Remember, the plane of euthymia is a space where only she is allowed to exist. The fact that you could appear there tells us one crucial thing. That you have piqued her interest. Perhaps it's because she has never seen an individual who is so unpredictable in the face of eternity.
Has no one else ever been in there?
None. No one has seen the devotee of eternity since she shut herself away. In fact, no one even knows what it looks like in there. Your existence is more than just an opportunity. It's the very key to all of this. To that I say, well done, child. You did not disappoint me after all.
Wait, you're leaving? Where are you going?
Anti-Raiden Shogun training. I've prepared a special program just for you. Come along.
We're gonna do it here? And what's this mechanism for?
Think of it as a catalyst that can reproduce the Raiden Shogun's combat moves. I made it from my own memory, which means it should be perfectly accurate. Unless, of course, her skills have declined. It'll give you a chance to figure out her moves in advance and come up with a counter-strategy. That should be a big help, don't you think? The aim is to try to not get hit by the attacks. Since you've escaped certain death at her hand once already, I presume this shouldn't be more than you can handle.
What a workout! So how come you know so much about the Raiden Shogun?
You mean me? Perhaps it's because I'm the Electro Archon's servant.
What? Like Devalin is to Barbados? Huh. Never would have guessed by looking at you.
It sounds like you'd be more persuaded if you saw me in my fox form. In your dreams.
Huh.
More curious than my appearance is the fact that she and I don't see each other anymore, wouldn't you say? A nation to last for all eternity is a dream that she and I both share. But I don't think that's the same thing as complete stasis. At some point, she started going down a path that became increasingly difficult for me to join her on. You know, Yae never said goodbye to me before she stepped into the plane of Euthymia. Perhaps it's just my wishful thinking, but I think she did this deliberately, as her way of keeping our friendship eternal. By neither saying goodbye nor seeing me again, our relationship will remain forever how it was. In her mind, at least. Since we've embarked on two very different paths to eternity, I can either continue to maintain the status quo or do whatever it takes to bring her back on track, regardless of the cost. I have chosen the latter because if stubbornly isolating herself in the plane of Euthymia is her idea of eternity, then my duty as her eternal servant is to drag her back out of her own head and into the real world.
Aw, Miko, you sound like a really great friend.
I'm only telling you this so you can properly understand my plan. Could you possibly spare the sentimentality for the time being? Anyway, that's enough chit-chat. Time for Anti-Raiden Shogun Training Phase 2.
There's a part 2?
Dear me, aren't you cutting it rather close?
Miko, this was your doing?
Now. Don't forget who taught you how to place your consciousness in objects. Surely you don't think your ambition alone is enough to shake Yae's will, do you? The heavenly principles. Irrelevant nonsense as far as I'm concerned. When all's said and done, all you really want is to protect your beloved Inazuma forever and ever. Isn't that right?
That would be something of an oversimplification.
But is this nation worth existing for eternity? Stripped of ambitions, stripped of the potential for change, it does nothing more than simply exist. It is a hollow shell of a nation. I wonder what loss would it really be to anyone if such a nation were destroyed?
Miko, retract your words. Never changing eternity is the promise I made to my people.
But what your people need from you is not your promises. They want your attention. Your divine gaze.
You mean visions? Humans have a lifespan of barely 100 years. They cannot afford to bear any extra losses. But I have experienced it all. That is why I have chosen to guide them along the correct path toward eternity.
But eternity is far too cruel a fate for you, eh?
For me?
Not only have you stopped paying attention to the world, but you have stopped paying attention to yourself. It must have been terribly lonely here, all alone, for centuries on end.
But it is necessary.
You will miss much by refusing progress. You seek to prevent loss, but have you considered all you are losing by remaining here in stasis for all eternity? You are obviously lonely, and yet for the sake of eternity, you choose to stretch your loneliness out to infinity. Tell me this. Why is the sky here that was once so dark glowing again? Why now? This is your plane of euthymia. It's your inner world. So it can only mean that you are happy to see me again. You have found the loneliness here unbearable for a long time now, haven't you?
I have nothing to say to that.
But I have so much to say to you. Let me tell you all that has happened over the last few centuries.
How long will that take?
As a Fox envoy, I have an excellent memory. I recall every detail of the last few centuries with perfect clarity. So it will probably take me another few centuries to relay it to you.
Miko, I never thought I would have the chance to meet with you like this again. Seeing you again is a change to eternity. And a very nice surprise.
Since you are willing to admit that, I suppose that means we can still be friends?
What a childish conversation this is. Anyway, now that I have been defeated by you and your plan, I will honor your wish to abolish the Vision Hunt Decree. But, with regards to eternity, and the question of whether this nation should move forward, I need time to give it some thought.
You are the one who's been acting like a child from the very beginning. Sorry, I haven't a clue. I'm also unfamiliar with the god you describe. But if you still have doubts about A, I would say they are misplaced. Not only does she not fit your description, but she voluntarily gave up her gnosis long ago, severing her ties with Celestia in the process. That's good to hear. Otherwise, given that I'm her familiar, it could have made our relationship rather awkward, don't you think?
Don't worry, we aren't looking to pick a fight with you.
I wish you the best of luck. May you soon discover the truth behind it all. All right. There's little purpose in keeping anything hidden from you anyway. Since the battle, the Shogun has been greatly troubled and her temperament has changed drastically.
What?
Her power was already on the decline. Then you dealt her that fateful strike. The defeat was a heavy blow to her. It also didn't help that I forgot to bring her some tricolor dango and light novels when I went to see her. Oh, the poor thing. Without desserts and books to console herself with, she was so angry she quite simply lost it. Crying and ranting and raving. Oh, I could hardly bear to see her that way.
You expect us to believe that a god would throw a temper tantrum over something like that?
Before you get too indignant, consider the fact that your concerns sound every bit as nonsensical to me as that blatant lie did to you. A seeks eternity. To her, mortal lives come and go in the blink of an eye. Of what consequence to her are mortal concerns for her well-being?
You're saying she's fine, right?
I don't know the details. She said she wanted to rest, and I have nothing pressing that requires her attention, so there is no reason to disturb her. I have heard about the thunderstorm, though. As to the cause, it is not inconceivable that, as you suggest, her will has wavered somewhat. I am the only one in all of Inazuma who can visit her while she is resting. But tell me, why should this concern me? Why should I do this for you, when I already have everything one could ever want, and have seen everything one could ever wish to see? I like that answer. Here is the pass permit. Show it to the Okuzumeshu at the gate, and he will let you in.
Thanks, Miko!
My question was in jest, but since you answered it in earnest, please stay true to your word. Oh, and don't forget to return the pass permit to me after you have finished with it.
Is it? I just want them to try it. It would be a shame for them to miss out on dango milk. Of course. I've heard that most humans like desserts, so it's not unusual that I should enjoy them too. Miko agrees with me on this. There's nothing like dessert for improving one's mood. Much more enjoyable than meditating alone all the time. By the way, Miko mentioned that she founded something called the Yae Publishing House to sell some sort of light novels. She's always bragging to me about it, but it's difficult for me to really imagine without seeing the place for myself. Can you take me there?
Sure! Let's go and have a look! Miko! We're back! We had a great trip!
Did you now? Well then, you'll have to tell me all about it. How amusing. The almighty Shogun goes downtown, and suddenly she's like a wide-eyed country girl trying to find her bearings in the big city. Marvelous. What a shame I didn't get to see it for myself. It's fine. She wouldn't mind. Really, she wouldn't. So, from what you were saying, it seems that she has finally begun to comprehend what form eternity should take? That's the most important outcome of this trip. To be honest, I wasn't expecting you'd make such great progress when I lent you the pass permit.
Yeah, it seems like she's not gonna force everything to stay the same way anymore.
To put it nicely, even deities indulge in wishful thinking. To put it more bluntly, there are things that even the Seven can't do when faced with something even more powerful than themselves. Take a guess. Anyway, it sounds like you had a very pleasant trip and even had the chance to see A's less formal side. Next time you wish to see her, you can come and take the pass permit from me again. She would never admit to it, but she does, in fact, get quite lonely.
What? But she said she doesn't need company.
Because she is a god. It's not that gods don't need the company of others, just that the idea of a god having company seems indulgent to her. But you don't belong to this world. Perhaps you are just the company she needs. Someone's not in the best of moods. Let me guess. You're all tangled up in another situation and need me to unravel it for you. I hope you realize how lucky you are. If it was anyone else, I don't think I'd have the patience to keep greeting them with a smile after the first few times.
But you're always smiling.
That was a figure of speech, do you understand? Nitpicking my turns of phrase. The sheer audacity.
Oh, yeah, something really big's happened. It's A. She...
Oh, okay, I see. So, A's decided to palm Inazuma off on the humans, while she goes off on her own to fight a fierce battle that doesn't even have an end date. Impossibly stubborn. Jumps straight to the most extreme course of action imaginable, presumes her sheer will can see her through, despite a near impossible goal that requires nothing short of the very peak of her abilities. Yes, that sounds like A all right. You know as well as I do that she's always been like this. Why start fretting about it now? Rushed into it without thinking. Well put. Oh, she acts like such a child sometimes. So you seem to be under the impression that I am able to offer some sort of help? Who gave you that idea?
Is she playing dumb? She's doing this on purpose, for sure!
Aha, you're learning, little one. But really, the truth of the matter is that I don't know much more about Raiden Makoto's realm of consciousness than you do. Now then, I always have my ways. It's just a question of how crafty I need to be. To the outsider, the realm of consciousness is a very abstract concept. Luckily, I'm A's familiar, so I can sense her rough whereabouts. In other words, even though I can't pinpoint the exact spatial location of this realm, I can still send you to where A is.
So, it's abstract, but has a location, but you don't know where it is, but you can still send us there. What?
Yes, no need to try and understand it. Let me put this simply. Right now, she is surrounded by chaos. Everything is turbulent and disordered. If you try to force your way in, you could be swept away by a giant wave that sets you down in an unknown corner of space-time. This is precisely why when entering the plane of euthymia, it's much safer if you place your consciousness in a physical object first.
What? Alright, well, Paimon's staying here then. You two can go in.
Suit yourself. Worst case scenario, always stand to lose is A. So what's the big deal?
You... Paimon's had it up to here with both of you! Oh, fine! Paimon's coming too.
Oh, well, if you're quite sure, then of course. Now, I shall send you on your way. A, how are you feeling now?
My body has fully recovered, and the Shogun's will no longer fights against me.
Always thrilled to hear you're in good health. But I was really asking about your emotions. Have you managed to calm down? After all, you saw Makoto in there, didn't you?
I only heard her voice. I wouldn't say I saw her. I'll be fine. It brought a few things back, of course, but I've made my decision to move forward. I have to say, this has reminded me once again just how brilliant Makoto was. She predicted all the ways in which Inazuma's future could unfold, all the way back then. She even factored my immaturity into her plan. It's all thanks to her that Inazuma lived to see this day.
Today, at long last, you and Inazuma finally emerge from the shadows cast by the events of centuries past. Makoto and you are Inazuma's past and future, and both are indispensable.
It's rare to hear such comforting words from you. I graciously accept them.
Oh, come on. You only think it's rare because you never used to listen to a word I say.
Makoto said the exact same thing!
Great minds think alike, hmm? I wonder, does that qualify me to, maybe, take the position of Shogun for a couple of days? Actually, no. Forget that. Far more trouble than it's worth.
We will have to end the frivolities there. There is much work to be done.
One last thing, Miko. I just want to know, have you been well all these years?
I've been great, of course. Every day is a happy one. Especially these days. Not only do I have my light novels, but I've also met these two delightfully nosy outlanders. And even A is finally starting to come to her senses. Quite a miracle, given how pig-headed she can be.
Oh, well, great. That's fantastic.
Urakusai, you'd be right at home in this era. Thank you for the meal. I thoroughly enjoyed myself today. Oh, did I mention? A saw that convocation ritual we performed over the Grand Narukami Shrine. I know she can be pig-headed, but it still took me by surprise when she wrote me a long and sternly worded letter about it, chastising me for taking this whole thing much too far. Ugh, I hardly see what all the fuss is about.